Okay, I want to introduce you to George Dawson. He is 100 years old. Just 2 years ago, Carl Henry learned that Mr. Dawson had never learned to read, so he offered to teach him how. And their story is an amazing mini miracle that has changed both of their lives. Take a look if you think you're too old to change. It's 8 a.m. on a school day, and George Dawson is ready to go. He's been up for 3 hours already, waiting for Carl Henry, the teacher who takes him to class every day.
Good morning, good morning.
2 years ago, at the age of 98, George took a remarkable step. He'd never been to school, never learned to read or write. But he told a local education recruiter he was determined to change.
I just told him, I said, well, I don't do nothing now but just sit around and go fishing. I want to go to school.
He did not know anything. He only made the X as a mark when he signed his name. And so I said, well, you haven't been in any kind of academic endeavor? No, nothing. I said, I had to work. And so I said, you have to start from scratch. So we started from scratch. Let's look at the words right here, stationary and stationary.
When George first came to class, he didn't even know the alphabet. The grandson of a former slave, he'd started working full-time when he was just 8 years old.
Mary, baby.
Mr. Dawson adds the idea of incentive to our students. They'll say, if one gets lazy, they'll simply say, if Mr. Dawson can do that, honey, you can do it too.
Every day, a new milestone. George, who once lost a promotion when he signed his name with an X, now writes his own name. And this year, when his classmates threw him a surprise 100th birthday party, George could read his own cards for the very first time. Best of all, George now can read his favorite book, the Bible. It is an achievement that has touched the hearts of George and of his teacher.
In a way, Mr. Henry is my angel.
Watching Mr. Dawson learn to read has been one of the greatest experiences of my life. Mr. Dawson was determined that he was going to learn how to read, and that determination fueled one of the most outstanding quests for knowledge that I've ever seen. It has been a fantastic miracle.
Got a great, you know you have a favorite book. Bravo to you. God bless you. God bless you. God bless you. God bless you. Thank you so much. You are such an inspiration for everybody who thinks they can't turn their life around or can't change. I can't imagine what it is to start to learn to read at 98.
I can't either. Actually, though, Mr. Dawson is a person who makes up his mind. Once he makes up his mind, he goes from there. You know, most teachers have methods of teaching, but basically Mr. Dawson changed our method, changed mine completely.
Really? What'd you do, have to throw that out the window, huh?
Threw it out completely out the window.
Really?
Because he would tell me, we would start with the ABCs, I was only going to teach him a couple of them. I wouldn't learn all of them, son. And then we were going to print. He said, no, I want to connect the words.
Really? So you skipped the printing?
We skipped the printing. We skipped a whole lot of things.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I admire and appreciate the spirit of George Dawson because we live in a world, first of all, where literacy is taken for granted. We live in a world where, even though we're the United States, we have one of the highest dropout rates for minorities of any other place in the world, where people have so many opportunities. I loved and appreciated him because he reminds us all that it's never too late, and also reminded us all that education, no matter how old you are, is still the open door to freedom.